Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a science fiction horror film, Larva. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. In the small town of Host, Missouri, 4 teenagers sneak out late at night to a field to tip cows. However, instead of cows, they see a bull. The girls dare the 2 boys to tip the bull, but they get scared. The girls persuade them to go through with the bull tipping by promising them lap dances. With renewed determination, the 2 creep towards the bull, but they discover that it's already dead. One of the boys inspects the dead body and is mystified by something crawling underneath the bull's skin. The teenagers get spooked by this and run from the field as fast as they can. A huge parasite emerges from the bull's belly. Morning comes and the newly arrived veterinarian in Host is hanging up his new office signage. He enters his office, which is filled with half-unpacked boxes strewn around the room. He opens one of the drawers and sees the previous vet's files marked confidential. He browses through the papers, which detail analyses and observations on an unknown experiment. The vet loses interest and throws the files into the wastebasket. The new veterinarian drives out to a farm. The farmer is surprised at his appearance, since he was expecting the old vet. The man explains that the old vet has retired, and he replaced him. The farmer then quickly explains that he found one of his cows dead and the other sick, which is a strange occurrence because they were healthy before. There is also no disease outbreak in the area that could be strong enough to kill his cows. The farmer shows the vet the sick cow, and he administers an anti-parasitic medicine and takes a sample of the parasites from the cow for further study. The farmer also reveals that the local meat processing corporation, Host Tender Meats, gives all the town's farmers free feed in exchange for selling their cattle to the company exclusively. Back in his office, the vet studies the parasites under the microscope. He knocks a beaker off the table and to the floor with his elbow. He picks up the broken pieces of glass and cuts his hand. His blood drops onto the table and he steps away to clean his wound. Unbeknownst to him, one of the parasites senses his blood and crawls toward it. It engorges itself on his blood, and it begins to increase in size. The vet returns to the table and is astounded at the sight of the enlarged parasite. He calls his friend who has a lab and tells him about the mysterious parasite he initially thought was a common liver fluke, but is not acting like one. His friend is wary because the vet has a history of going after conspiracies, and it almost got him fired last time. The vet eventually convinces his friend to take a look at his sample and promises to send him the specimen first thing in the morning. Across town, an old woman's dog goes missing. She looks for it in the woods surrounding her house and finds its dead body all bloody and torn up. A huge parasite jumps from the tree and attacks her. The vet attends a town fundraiser the next morning. The event is hosted by Host Tender Meats, and its owner steps up on stage to speak. He thanks the farmers for participating in the clinical trials for the company's new feed, formulated with special medicines. He announces that the cows, who are now eating this feed, will grow even bigger and produce the tastiest beef for export. He rewards them with a 12% price increase per head on the cattle the company buys from them. After the speech, they continue with a town potluck that showcases steaks and burgers made with the beef from the cows that are grown with the special feed. The vet meets a department head from Host Tender Meats during the potluck. The man notices that the vet is a vegetarian and jokes that people in town might find that offensive. The 2 sit down, and the vet learns that the man is the head of research and development, and he tells him about the strange parasites he discovered. The department head just shrugs and doesn't say anything. He noticeably stops eating his burger too. A well-dressed woman arrives at the fundraiser and approaches the owner, so they can talk. She is a lawyer for Host Tender Meats, and she warns him that the board of directors wants him gone because of his deficiencies as the head of the company. It is revealed that the owner is keeping the board in the dark about his clinical trials, and he is desperately hoping that the new meat will generate an increase in company profits, and so will keep his position. They are interrupted by the department head, who introduces the new veterinarian. The owner is shocked and curtly greets the vet. He singles out the department head so they can talk privately. He angrily asks why no one told him that the new vet arrived in town 2 weeks earlier than the agreed-upon date. The department head answers that no one knew the vet would arrive earlier, and he also shares that the man is already suspicious of Host Tender Meats, just like his predecessor. Meanwhile, the vet and a lawyer are left alone. He nervously asks her to eat with him at his table and then flirts with her. The lawyer reciprocates this banter. One of the men in the potluck chases after a wayward frisbee that then lands on a nearby stream. He tries to retrieve the frisbee, but falls in the water instead. A parasite bites him, and causes him to have a heart attack. Chaos ensues, and a crowd gathers as the man is rescued. The town doctor arrives and tries to resuscitate the man. The vet then notices a dead animal lying near the stream and surmises that one of the parasites must have attacked the man and caused his heart attack. The vet relays his suspicions to the doctor at the hospital, but the doctor dismisses his concerns. He does agree to test the man for parasites, but only after a few days. The vet drops by the man's room and sees that he is still unconscious. The vet leaves and doesn't see a parasite travel from the man's nostrils into his mouth and finally down his throat. He returns home and gets a call from his friend, who reports that the parasite sample he sent is unlike any other identified parasite in the world. He adds that its structure is like the common liver fluke, but this variation has mutated. With the vet's suspicions confirmed, he tells his friend that he is going to quarantine the town's cattle. The next thing he does is to call a town meeting. He discovers that almost all farmers in the area have been experiencing problems with their cattle. He then explains his theory that the new feed provided by Host Tender Meats is causing the mutation of common parasites, and it's now infecting all their cattle. The farmer he visited earlier backs him up on this, saying that the company only cares about their profits. He almost convinces the town to believe him until the lawyer arrives with the owner. The lawyer reveals to the town that the vet lost his license to practice in North Carolina and Virginia after exposing the alleged algae infecting a town's water supply. That particular town lost its main livelihood because of the vet's accusations. This must be why the vet quickly took the job in Host, and why his friend at the lab was wary of his theories. The vet loses his credibility after the revelation, and the townspeople leave the meeting. Later that night, the farmer calls the vet and asks him to go to his place as fast as he can because one of his sick cows is about to burst. The vet arrives and attends to the sick cow. Suddenly, the two hear something scurrying above them. A giant parasite flies out of nowhere and tries to attack the vet, but the farmer shoots it. The vet inspects the parasite carcass and realizes that it can swell up to 4 sizes larger than it already is, killing any host it will latch on to, including humans. The lawyer arrives at the hospital to talk to the wife of the man who had the mysterious heart attack. She assures her that Host Tender Meats will be shouldering the man's hospital fees, but the wife sees through the company's ploy, and she tells the lawyer that her husband worked there for 10 years, and he never had a salary raise while the owner just got richer and richer. The man finally wakes up from his coma. At first, he seems to be fine. However, blood begins to spurt from his orifices and he starts shaking. Something is protruding from his stomach and violently breaks free, a gigantic parasite. The man dies, and the vet and the farmer arrive at his hospital room just in time to see the parasite escape through the air ducts. The pair chase the parasite through the hospital. They end up following it to the basement tunnels, where the morgue is located. The parasite attacks the farmer, and the vet kills it. Soon after, the owner and his family are having dinner in their luxurious manor across town when the phone rings. One of his employees is concerned about the threat the vet poses to the company, and the owner assures him that he's got it under control. Back at the hospital, the vet and the farmer watch the injured and dead victims of the parasite attack earlier get wheeled away. They realize that the parasite could have possibly infected these people. They leave the hospital with the intent to come up with a solution to eradicating the infestation, and the lawyer comes with them. The owner calls the sheriff and orders him to lock the vet and the lawyer up since they know too much. The police station is getting overwhelmed with calls from panicked town citizens who are seeing the parasites all over town. The owner drives to Host Tender Meats' office and is confronted by the department head, who's feeling guilty about what they are doing to the town. He blames the owner for going forward with the clinical trials, even though the medicine they used was not completely safe. He makes the owner look through the microscope and see the proof that the parasites originated from the meat of cows who were fed with the special feed. Unperturbed, the owner orders the department head to destroy all files they have on the clinical trials, so the parasites can't be traced back to the company. The vet, farmer, and lawyer arrive at the farmer's place, where he shows them his impressive gun and explosives collection. However, the sheriff arrives, and the lawyer and vet come out to greet him. He arrests the two and hauls them inside a car. The farmer is left inside the barn, and the sheriff comes to find him. They can't find the farmer, so they leave. At the station, the lawyer and the vet are locked up in jail cells. The vet taunts the sheriff and asks him if he's scared that the parasites are already inside him. The owner is shredding the incriminating documents when the department head tells him that he quits. The owner tries to assure him that things will blow over soon, but the department head is too overwhelmed by his conscience. The owner then writes him a check and tells him to leave town, never come back, and never utter a word of what happened in Host. He takes the check and leaves. Back at the owner's house, his wife tucks their son into bed. A little while later, her son begins to scream and call for her. He tells her that there's a monster hiding in his closet. She thinks that it's just her son being a scared child and proceeds to open his closet to show him that there's no one inside. She turns to her son and sees that a huge parasite is devouring him. She then makes an earth-shattering scream. At the station, one of the sheriff's men begins to convulse, and a parasite emerges from his chest. The farmer arrives and shoots the parasite. He convinces the sheriff to release the vet and the lawyer so they can finally stop the parasites. The vet explains to the sheriff that the special feed made by Host Tender Meats is the reason why common liver flukes began mutating inside the town's cattle. The lawyer then reveals that the medicine used in the clinical trials wasn't approved yet, but the owner rushed its use so he could get the new meat into the market faster. The department head drives out of town, but is attacked by a parasite hiding in his car. The owner passes by and sees the parasite feasting on his dead body. The owner arrives home and calls for his wife. He hears sounds coming from his son's room, so he grabs his shotgun. He discovers his wife's dead body and blood splattered all over the room. He goes outside and sees his son's corpse. The owner gets cornered by a gigantic parasite and eventually dies. The three concoct a plan to drive a truck pouring fertilizer onto the road to lure all the larvae into the sewers, where the farmer will trigger dynamites to kill all the parasites in one fell swoop. They are helped by the sheriff, and the plan goes into motion. The parasites start trickling into the sewers, and the group struggles to find a way out. The sheriff gets eaten by a parasite, and the remaining three finally exit the sewers and detonate the explosives, killing all the larvae. Eventually, the town is saved, but hundreds of people died in the aftermath of the events. Host Tender Meats gets implicated in the ensuing scandal. The movie ends with the vet visiting the lawyer in the hospital after she sustained an injury on her arm after fending off the parasites. She asks him if it's over now, and he says yes. However, things may be far from over, as the camera zooms into the lawyer's stomach in the last scene, suggesting that a parasite is living inside her. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.